Welcome to Reparenting Radio. I'm Lisa Watson, a transformational coach, author, and cycle breaker, just like you. This podcast is a sacred space for truth-telling, remembrance, and radical healing. Each week, I share stories, spiritual teachings, and nervous system wisdom to help dismantle disempowering beliefs, break generational cycles, and reclaim our sovereignty. So together, we can build a new world rooted in love and freedom for the generations to come. If you're ready to remember who you are beneath the programming, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome back to Reparenting Radio. I am Lisa Watson, your host, and today I want to explore why reparenting is a sacred act of resistance. Now, in episode 1, we did explore this, but today we're taking that one step deeper. We're going to talk about how trauma lives in the body, what it really means to regulate your nervous system, and why your inner child isn't broken, but your compass. Are you ready? So if you're someone who's been stuck in survival mode, you're exhausted from doing all the healing things, but still feeling off, this episode is for you. We're going to unravel the old programming and reconnect you to the truth, because you are not broken. You were programmed, and now you know, because I'm about to tell you, you're the programmer, so you can reprogram yourself. So let's talk about trauma. What is trauma really? Trauma is not just what happened to you. It's what your body couldn't safely process. Trauma can be acute. It can be like a specific event, like a car accident or a hospital stay. It can be maybe a complex childhood experience that was shaped by instability, fear, or abuse, or maybe it can be developmental, like emotional neglect, or not feeling seen or heard, or not being soothed or supported. That can also be traumatic. And it can also be ancestral or cultural, inherited beliefs and patterns that have been passed down through generation. And the truth that really hit me was that trauma isn't the event, it's the disconnection from yourself that follows. And that realization, it really was an epiphany for me, and what I thought I knew. It wasn't just the big things that had shaped me, it was all the little moments. I learned it wasn't safe to feel. It wasn't safe to speak. It wasn't safe to have needs. And this is why I developed the reparenting method, because I came to realize that most of the disempowering beliefs and programs that I have as an adult were because of all these little things during those formative years when the subconscious mind is being formed in childhood, years 0 to 8. So let's talk about the nervous system, though. The nervous system is where trauma is getting trapped in the body. It's getting trapped inside the nervous system. So let's talk about how this happens a little biologically. Your autonomic nervous system has two main branches. There's the sympathetic branch, which is your fight, flight, freeze response. And then there's the parasympathetic branch, which is your rest, digest, and freeze. Think of it kind of like the gas and the brake. The sympathetic is the gas, the parasympathetic is the brake. Most of us have our foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. And when you're under threat, even emotionally, your system chooses protection. But what if you never had a chance to fully come back to safety? Well, then that charge gets stuck, and that's dysregulation. And I truly believe that so many of our autoimmune disorders, even things like ADHD, anxiety, depression, are our nervous system actually stuck. And I can attest to this because it took me 52 years of my life to get myself to where my nervous system finally wasn't just stuck. And I, for the first time, felt what it felt like to be in this body and not be dysregulated, which I could have never described to you before because I only knew the feeling of dysregulation. Even though it may have been slight, it was always there, and it presented itself as mostly, monkey mind and ADHD type of behaviors. But once I got my nervous system regulated, those things started to fade away. So dysregulation can look like overreacting to small things, chronic fatigue, anxiety, hypervigilance, numbness. Honestly, most healing models, they fail because, especially psychology and talk therapy, because they stay in the mind. But your body is the one that's still running the script. Your nervous system, it's not broken. It's actually quite intelligent. It's quite brilliant. And it's working off of old data. So the way that it works is your body gets used to whatever state you were mostly in during those formative years. Just like the subconscious mind, the thoughts, and the scripts are formed during those first 7 years. The things that you hear your parents say, the way society talks to you, your teachers, your siblings, your parents, your caregivers, your church, whoever you're around, the words that they say, the language, we're learning the language, that goes into our subconscious mind, and we learn it. We learn these scripts. Well, your body's the same way. So if you were in a state of hypervigilance when you were a child, maybe there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of maybe confusion, lack of connection, your nervous system got used to being in a certain state. And that state to it becomes homeostasis. So as we get older, our nervous system, as I said, it's not broken, it's actually brilliant, and it's just working off old data. It's trying to keep you back in that same frequency and vibration that it knows. It feels safe to your nervous system. Even if it was fear or anxiety, it feels right because it feels like home. So your nervous system is always going to want to go back to it. All of our bodies are tied together, whether it's our emotional, our mental, our physical, our spiritual, they're all tied together. So when your physical body wants to go back to a state of, say, fear, it's looking to regulate itself and get back to homeostasis, it's going to feed you fear-based thinking. And you're going to then be fed these thoughts, and then you'll pay attention to the thought, and then you'll interact with the thought, engage with the thought, and then you'll start thinking more fear-based thoughts, and then your body is like, oh yay, I got my drugs, I got my fear, I'm happy, I feel good now. Meanwhile, in your conscious mind, you're thinking, why am I always afraid, and why do I always feel this way? I wish I could calm down. But you're fighting against homeostasis in your body. So what we have to do is we just retrain our body. We're going to train our body to go back to a state of calm. And we do this by reparenting ourselves, by in the moment. Instead of choosing those anxious thoughts, we're going to choose thoughts of optimism. We're going to choose thoughts of gratitude. We're going to choose a different perspective. We're going to remember that everyone is innocent and they're just running off their old programs, that everything is happening for me, that I am safe. We're going to do the inner child work so that we're not reacting off things in the past, and we're bringing our inner child back up here with us and letting him or her know that we're not 5 anymore, where our alcoholic mother is in charge of us and not taking care of us. I'm in charge of you now. We don't have to be afraid anymore. I'm taking care of you. You have a new parent now. Everything's okay. Your inner child is so directly tied to your nervous system. If you can get your inner child to feel safe and relaxed and loved and protected and connected, then your nervous system is going to start to relax. And there's lots of other things we can do too, as far as exercises and eating different foods, nutrition. Maybe we need to have some blood work done. maybe there's some hormone issues we're having or nutrient deficiencies. If we're consuming any type of processed foods, alcohol, pharmaceuticals, anything that's not natural to our body can cause dysregulation in our nervous system as well, especially dyes and fake foods and additives and things like that. But let's talk a little bit about not just how to regulate our nervous system, but why healing is a rebellion in a control-based system. So we live in a culture that thrives on dysregulation, because if you're exhausted, you're going to comply. And if you're disconnected, then you'll consume. And if you're in survival mode, then you'll just keep spinning instead of questioning. And that's why healing, real healing that brings you back into your body, your knowing and your calm, why it is radical. Because someone who is in their body is a threat to every system that is built on fear. And when you learn to regulate, you can respond instead of react. You can choose instead of collapse. Let me tell you about a client of mine. This woman, she came to me. She's a high-functioning woman, businesswoman on the outside, but chronically overwhelmed on the inside. And as we worked together, she began to regulate her nervous system. She cried, she screamed, she shook, she softened, and eventually she started making choices from clarity instead of from fear. She started setting firmer boundaries, practicing self-love, and she really became a lot more mindful with her thoughts and her behaviors, which allowed her to make new decisions. This is rebellion, because when you become the calm in the storm, you no longer need to survive the storm, because you simply change the weather, right? So how do we get there? Like I said, we get there through reparenting. Reparenting is not about blaming our parents. It's about becoming the one who meets the inner child with safety, presence, and permission that they never had. It looks like holding space for the younger parts of us to feel what they never got to feel, to remind them that they're not out on that timeline anymore. It's about using somatic tools to downshift from survival into presence, whether that's deep breathing or releasing the tight fascia in your hips or in your neck. It's honoring the signals of your body before overriding them, setting boundaries that honor your truth, and radical self-love and allegiance to our inner child. There's a couple things that you can try if you've never done any sort of mindfulness or nervous system regulation techniques. One that I like to do is just like a 60-second body scan. It's asking yourself, where do I feel tense? And just tuning in to every single little part of your body, starting at the top of your head. I mean, literally like tuning into your hair and your scalp and your eyebrows and the skin and your forehead and your side of your eyes, and going really slowly and just scanning your whole body and feeling where you feel any tension. And as you feel the tension, you just breathe in and you exhale and just really connect with your own self. This is a great exercise if you're someone who struggles with anxiety or any sort of nervous system disorder. Even if you're in a toxic relationship, I know your nervous system is not regulated. So give that a try. There's lots of great breathing techniques out there. Breathe in for 4, out for 6. There's box breathing. You can easily search the internet or ask ChatGPT for breathing exercise, but I highly recommend that you do some sort of meditation, breathing, just body scan, yoga, stretching, just something at least 5 minutes a day where you're actually connecting with your own body and intimately connecting with it, talking to your inner child, feeling into all the little spaces that you haven't felt into in so long, and just stretching and moving in ways maybe that you never have before. Or just do whatever helps you feel grounded whenever you start to spiral. As long as it's not a toxic behavior, like scrolling on your phone or smoking or drinking or eating or distracting yourself with some habit that isn't necessarily healthy for you. Remember, you don't erase trauma. You create new programs. You build new grooves of peace by changing your perspective, your focus, and the thoughts that you allow yourself to entertain. So let's recap. Trauma is not your identity. It's a nervous system response. Healing isn't indulgent, it's how we interrupt the cycle. And reparenting is how we come back to ourselves and we reclaim the truth beneath the programming. So remember, calm doesn't mean silence, it's your access point to freedom. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned something that you can take with you today from this episode. And next week, we're going to be switching things up with a raw and real episode. I will be joined by my dear friend and illustrator of my children's books, Isabella Clark, for an unfiltered conversation about the messy middle, the guilt, the grace, and the grief of waking up to the truth of your life and deciding not to self-abandon anymore. It's an honest, human, and really awesome conversation. So it's not to be missed, and I hope to see you there. Thank you for joining this episode of Reparenting Radio. If it sparks something in you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow cycle breaker. If you want to go deeper, visit my website at reparent-yourself.com for healing tools and programs, and be sure to explore my soul-nourishing children's books at awakentheone.org. Until next time, stay sovereign, speak your truth, and keep reparenting your way home to yourself.